Philippines. The Philippines is located just above the equator and faces the western Pacific, with little else to absorb the energy of storms before they hit land. Storms are fueled by the warm, tropical waters, which produce roughly 20 typhoons each year. The Philippines has the world's hottest ocean temperatures, frequently above 28 degrees Celsius, the minimum temperature for typhoon formation. This is set to increase with climate change, increasing the frequency of typhoons.
Sentro ng bagyo, kabaybaying sakop ng Lawaan, Eastern Samar.
Greetings everyone, I'm Kyla Reyes from BSED 1B, and let's have a little discussion about a typhoon. First, what is a typhoon? A typhoon is a natural phenomenon that brings wind, rain, and destruction. It is also called tropical cyclone and hurricane. It is an intense circular storm that originates over warm tropical ocean and is characterized by low atmospheric pressure, high winds, and heavy rain. Typhoons are often accompanied by second disasters such as floods and landslides that can cause severe damage or even destruction of houses and infrastructure, and pose a great threat to human life, especially in coastal areas. The geographical location of the Philippines makes the country uniquely exposed to a plethora of hazards, including recurring typhoons, earthquakes, and 53 active volcanoes, eruptions of which are classified as the most deadly. Why is the Philippines prone to typhoons? The Philippines is located just above the equator and faces the western Pacific, with little else to absorb the energy of storms before they hit land. Storms are fueled by the warm tropical waters, which produce roughly 20 typhoons each year. Philippines experience a lot of typhoons throughout the year, but there are two strongest and most destructive typhoons happen in the Philippines. The first one is the Typhoon Haiyan, known in the Philippines as Super Typhoon Yolanda. It is one of the most powerful tropical cyclones ever recorded. On making landfall, Haiyan devastated portion of Southeast Asia, particularly Philippines. It dated November 3 to November 11 in 2013, and more than 6,000 people died in that storm, and it remains the country's deadliest storm in the record. The second one is the Typhoon Rai, known in the Philippines as Super Typhoon Odette. It is one powerful and catastrophic tropical cyclones that struck in the Philippines during December 12 to December 22, 2021. According to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, NDRRMC, the typhoon killed at least 409 people, injuring thousands and cumulatively displacing nearly 3.2 people, of whom around 144,000 remain displaced, and many more are living in damaged shelters with little access to the basic services.
Hello world, hello Philippines. I am here in front of you discussing what is a 72 hours survival kit. So what is a 72-hour survival kit? It is a short term of go bag, which is to provide a high necessary priority survival gear, which is needed to live away from home. A 72 hours kit, also called a disaster supply kit. It is a small collection of things that you would need in an emergency. These supplies can come in handy if you were unable to function normally because of a disaster or an emergency. For example, during the flood, you are unable to go or to reach a grocery, or to buy a food. It is very important or very helpful to have a 72 hours survival kit. So what is in a 72 hours survival kit? There is a bottled water. Second is food. Third, medication. Fourth, first aid, which is including the scissors, alcohol, and the fifth, flashlight, radio, or external battery, whistles, important documents. Those are the importance that we should put in a 72 hours survival kit. That's all. Thank you.
What to do before a typhoon? First, listen to weather updates and advisories. Second, keep watching for warnings and plans regarding evacuation in your community. Third, check your house's condition and make necessary repairs. 4. Prepare a survival kit, emergency items such as canned goods, biscuits, water, and first aid kits. 5. Keep your survival kit in an area where you can easily get it in case of emergency. 6. Bring pets and livestock in a designated evacuation area for animals. If not, keep them in a safe place. And lastly, evacuate immediately once asked by the authorities to do so. What to do during a typhoon? First, if no advice to evacuate was announced, then better stay inside your house. Keep yourself calm and postpone any scheduled travels. 2. Keep on monitoring the typhoon's movement through your television, radio, or the internet. 3. If you see signs of water rising, better turn off the main source of electricity. Do keep your electric-powered items stored in higher areas and refrain from using them during flood. 4. Do not wade along flooded areas to keep yourself from contacting waterborne diseases. If it is inevitable, wear protective gear such as raincoats and boots to protect yourself. And lastly, if you are told to evacuate, calmly comply. What to do after a typhoon? First, do not touch or approach any live wires or outlets immersed with water. 2. Keep all power and electronic appliances off until cleared safe by a professional. 3. Call power utility companies if there are any damaged transmission lines or posts. 4. Check whether the water supply is safe to drink. If not, boil water for at least 20 minutes. 5. Beware of any dangerous animals like snake that may have entered your house. 6. If your house is insured, take photos of the extent of damage to your house of any dangerous animals like snake that may have entered your house. 6. If your house is insured, take photos of the extent of damage to your house to support your insurance claims. 7. Clean the entire home and all objects affected by flood, as chemicals and sewage water may have contaminated these. Wear appropriate gear like gloves and masks. 8. If you have evacuated, only return to your house after authorities deem it safe. And lastly, If your house was damaged or destroyed, make sure that it is safe and stable before entering.
We never know when a disaster will hit us. Just like typhoons, they can cause severe damage to our lives. That's why it's important to be alert to disaster prevention weather information and take suitable preventive measures to reduce the risk and the possibility of damages. And with that, I will give you some reminders and the actions that we must take to reduce the risk. First, it is very important to listen to weather updates and advisories, and you can also keep on watching for warnings and plans regarding evacuation in your community. Second is to check your house condition and make necessary repairs. Make sure to check beforehand that there are no fragile items or spots around your house and secure any objects that may be blown off. Third reminder is to avoid leaving your home for non-essential and non-urgent reasons. Prepare beforehand for a safe prolonged stay at home and also prepare for the possibility of extended power outages and water cutoffs. Fourth is to prepare for a survival kit. Emergency items such as canned goods, biscuits, water, and first aid kits. And keep them in an area where you can get it easily in case of an emergency. For our fifth reminder, if you have your pets and livestock, you can bring them in the designated evacuation area for animals, or you can keep them in a safe place. For our sixth and last important reminder, evacuate immediately once asked by the authorities to do so. And even if an evacuation order has not yet been issued, it may be prudent to evacuate early, especially in the case of households with infants or aged persons, because evacuation may become difficult when the intensity of the wind and rains has increased or after dark. So that concludes some important reminders that we should keep in mind in order to reduce risk. And the next video clip will demonstrate how to and what to prepare in a survival kit. Thank you and keep safe everyone.
Nationwide Operational Assessment of Hazards or NOAA is undertaking advanced disaster science research, comprehensive and multidisciplinary assessment of hazards, while also developing accessible tools that enable local government units, community leaders, policymakers, planners, families, and individuals to prevent and mitigate disasters. Project NOAA is a hazard maps for storm surge, floods, and landslides can be drilled down to a barangay level of specificity. These hazard maps also show which areas are safe for evacuation. Through national government agencies, corporate sector partners, and academia, it is meant to use science and technology to generate reliable data and address the circumstances needed to make educated decisions for disaster risk reduction efforts. How is Project NOAA helps in the preparedness of Filipino people toward the possibility of the arrival of typhoon? Project NOAA is the government's flagship program for disaster prevention and mitigation, which aims to create a disaster-free Philippines by providing tools and information to mitigate or avert disasters caused by the natural hazard. The project benefits go far beyond its research value. Said conception, it has literally been a lifesaver for millions of Filipinos threatened by natural disaster like flood, landslide, and storm surge. It deserves a new lease on life, and the UP is happy to welcome it into its fold.